Arca 1964 here, another video looking at racing next week. Start Monday, start two divisions of a happy retirement. Morrison and Barnes handicap hurdle race. Morris Barnes retired from training, although he's always been most well known as a jockey Rubstick, who won the 1979 Grand National, and Iron Maximus, of course, winning that race for the second time today. In addition, we have yet another Hunter Chase, saying with number of videos, there's a time for Hunter Chases these few months. Appointing Pointers Open Handicap Steeplechase over 3 miles in a fraction. Another Hunter Chase taking place at Fakenham on the same day. It's over 3 miles and a small bit, and it's a grassroots maiden hunter steeplechase for the Turner Trophy. This race was started after 2006 after the sad death of David Turner, and it was originally named after him, and then later years it became named after the Turner family. I'll actually link at David Turner's career here because it was massively connected with Fakenham. As you can see, it's a large, through a Jockeypedia site, large numbers at Fakenham, and also 8 times champion point-to-point rider. On Tuesday, we move on to a 3-day Craven meeting. First race was called the Alex Scott Maiden Stakes over 7 furlongs. I'm going to assume this is named after the tragic trainer of one of my favourite horses, and I've forgotten horse, Tara, who won once the 2-year-old, and then his only 3-year-old races, 3 of them, with the Derby, the King George Queen Elizabeth Stakes, and the Ark, winning all 4 of those. And Alex Scott was murdered by a disgruntled stable lad, and I'm assuming it has to be named after him. I don't know another Alex Scott connected with horse racing. In addition, we have another 7 furlong race, as the first race as well, a 3-year-old race, a condition stakes, and then move on to a handicap over 5 furlongs for 4-year-old plus, and ending the day with the Exeter handicap stakes, another 4-year-old plus race over a mile. Very nice pub in Exeter. I can't remember the name of it though. I think it's one of the 2 pubs in Exeter. I've certainly stayed there while I was staying in Newmarket, every day overnight, because the pubs in Newmarket had a little ropey in my view. There's 2 nice, 2 pubs to about 40-minute walk north if you're walking. That's why I rarely would go to these pubs unless I'm staying overnight, so there's a nice pub there. We now move to Market Rasen on the same day, and we have a Mares handicap steeplechase listed race over just under 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs, and it's one of the races that's been rearranged from Cheltenham to other racecourses. And again at Haydock on Wednesday, we have the main race here being the Silver Trophy Handicap Steeplechase Grade 2, and again this has been rearranged from Cheltenham. That's one just under 2.5 miles. And a number of other decent races here to note: a novice hurdle over 2 miles 5, the listed Abram novice hurdle over the same distance, a handicap hurdle, yet again, over 2 miles 5. Handicap steeplechase over just under 3 miles and 4.5 furlongs. Handicap over just over 3 miles. Another handicap over just over 3 miles, 1.5 furlongs. And the ending here with an intriguing race, a Pony Racing Authority Graduate Handicap Hurdle Race. One of these ones with traditional amateur riders, and that's solely for riders who are ridden in the PRA pony races. Over at Beverley, on the same day, we have 140th year of a Watts Memorial Handicap Stakes over just over 2 miles. At least you don't need to know how long that race has been going for. And according to the Go Racing website, this was created when William Watt bequeathed a fund to the racecourse race, and obviously still going now. Back at Newmarket on the Wednesday, we have a series of good quality races. So we start actually with a handicap of 6 furlongs, 4-year plus, quite a valuable handicap there. And then we go to the Fielden Stakes, a listed race for 3-year-olds, a 1 mile 1 furlong. And then we have the Sefton Stakes for 4-year plus over the same distance. And then the Nell Gwyn Stakes over 7 furlongs, again a group 3. And then we have a 2-year-old maiden over 5 furlongs, a 3-year-old maiden over a mile, and finally a 3-year-old handicap over 1 mile 2 furlongs. And back at headquarters on a Thursday, next day of interest, a major race here, as I said, to talk about the Craven. How much influence it always has over 2 of the Guineas is debatable, I don't know anything else, but it's still a long running race. So we're very well on Group 3 over a mile. And then another series of interesting races here. The most valuable of the remaining ones of a card being the 6 furlong handicap for 3-year-olds only. And then you have a maiden over for 3-year-olds over a mile. The Group 3 Abonnet for 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs. A 7 furlong maiden again for this time for 3-year-olds plus. A 3-year-old maiden of 1 mile 2 furlongs, who the horse who have only won once at the most. And finally a handicap over 7 furlongs, 4-year-old plus. Also on Thursday at Hereford, There's a memorial race for this farmer Richard Layton who tragically committed suicide a few years ago, and that's the Tower Race meeting is a Richard Layton Charity Race Day 2026. And it's not just dealing with sad death of Richard Layton, but there's a number of other farmers committing suicide in the Hereford area. So the event is really more wide-ranging than just Richard Layton, where a charity is named after him. Ripon has a silver bowl, again on the Thursday. 3-year-old race. I seem to always think one of these races I always thought ought to be worth more money than it is, but I don't think it ever has been a particularly rich race, but it's a race of interest, and I like my sort of races named after things. So I'm saying, like the Silver Bowl, and equally a Cock of the North handicap stakes over just over 1 mile, 1.5 furlongs. Again, not the greatest prize money, but an interesting race name. And then we have a 2-day Scottish Grand National meeting, and the main race of the day here is a handicap steeplechase over exactly 2 miles, 4.5 furlongs. And also we have a handicap hurdle races over just under 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. Friday at Newbury, we have a novice race over 1 mile, 2 furlongs, so again for 3-year-old only. Starting to get to 3-year-old only races coming in now, of course. Looking maybe for not maybe these most might not be the classic horses necessarily, but this sort of thing coming in for 3-year-olds. And some decent enough races at the end of the card over 2 miles and half a furlong 4-year-old plus handicap, a 3-year-old handicap over 7 furlongs, and a 6 furlong handicap for 4-year-old plus. Back to 100 chasers. On Friday, in an evening meeting at Exeter, we have a series final for 100 chasers over just over 3 miles. We have a major course Scottish Grand National meeting, all races, some interesting races on the card. Start with Scotty Brand handicap steeplechase over exactly 2 miles, half a furlong. A novice champion handicap steeplechase over 3 miles, 20 yards. This will be the old future champions race. I thought it was 2 miles 4. Might check into that. I think I may have altered the distance on this one. I seem to remember it being 2.5 miles. Yeah, I was just checking that out. Yeah, it started 2 miles, then went 2.5, and according to Wikipedia, I'm not going to bother looking this up to be honest. It was one renewal at 2 miles, then back to 2.5. I thought it was. I didn't think it was a 3-mile race. So obviously replaced it with a 3-mile chase. It was a former Grade 2. But this now is a completely different race. Then we have the Grade 2 Scottish Champion Hurdle. I always remember Alderbrook winning this one, only after he comes second in the Champion Hurdle. And that's over exactly 2 miles. We have a Mayor's Handicap Hurdle race over just over 3 miles. Then of course there's the major race here. So I think 2017, I believe it was Scottish Grand National, over fraction under 4 miles. Of course, one of the most well-known nationals around. And we have a novice hurdle race. Looks like it's winners of one. It's saying in BHA website, so I assume it's winners of one hurdle race. I'm not sure exactly about that. And that's over just under 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. On the same day, we're back on the flat with some trial races here for future races. We're starting with the Fred Darling Stakes for 3 years over 7 furlongs, and then the Greenham. Yes, I thought I was missing something here, but BHA some reason not mentioning with the Fred Darling is the fillies race. I thought, hang on, we can't have the Fred Darling and the Greenham both at 7 furlongs, basically for 3 years. I thought I was missing something. I couldn't quite remember the deal with the Fred Darling. Yeah, although the BHA website doesn't say this, Fred Darling is a fillies race, valuable race over 7 furlongs, and with the Greenham, well, that's Franklin, also Celtic Swing, I remember those horses winning this race, and that's over also 7 furlongs. Then have the Group 3 John Porter Stakes for 4-year plus over 1.5 miles. The Spring Cup Handicap Stakes over exactly a mile for 4 years plus. I'm saying a mile exactly a mile, so remember, because you said exactly a mile straight, while there's not some strange distances. Then we have a mile 3 furlong maiden for 3-year-olds, for horses who have run most of times twice, and finally a handicap over a mile 2 furlongs for 4-year-old plus. And a couple of races at Thirsk named after people. The Nick Simpson Cannot Be 60 Handicap Stakes, well, he apparently is, and that's over 6 furlongs of 4-year-old plus. And a happy 21st birthday to Lily Watkinson, well, a bit younger in age there, and that's over a fraction over 1.5 miles. Stratford has another of 100 chasers, about 3 years back now, about 3 years ago maybe. I went to a 100 chase France at Stratford. I always wanted just going there just on a one-off. It also gave me a chance to do a little bit of Shakespeare stuff, as I'm a great Shakespeare fan as well. And there's an earlier race here, Opa 100 steeplechase over 2 miles 6 furlongs in around half a furlong. As I finished the video, I noticed there was a race at the start at Stratford, and I'd overlooked it a little bit. The George Wood Years of Service Mares Maiden Hurdle over just over 2 miles, and I wasn't sure who this was, so I looked it up. And there is a George Wood who's who seems a popular guy who does some stuff with the Stratford Cricket Club, playing and coaching, and it could be him. As a jockey, George Wood, but he's a flat jockey. He won't be a race named after him. And I cover anyone else George Wood in the next to Stratford. It is in 2019 at Stratford a Happy Birthday George Wood race. So it's certainly, I think, the same George Wood, and I think it might be the cricket guy. I'm just not sure. And lastly, here we have Plumpton, and the valuable Sussex Days handicap hurdle race over just under 3 miles 1 furlong. I'm pretty sure that's on the day of the Sussex National. I was going down for that, I said a few times. 2 years ago, only to be cancelled for a day, so it's meant to be in the British Museum. Again, the meeting was cancelled this year. Thankfully, I didn't decide to go down to it. I think the train's a bit expensive, and some races are rearranged, and so Sussex National ran a little while ago, and this race has been rearranged here.